Welcome, listeners, to Thru the Sightglass, a podcast that dives deep into the fascinating world of craft beer and celebrates the incredible individuals who shape its vibrant landscape. Join us on a journey where we explore the nuances of this amazing industry and the remarkable people who contribute to its richness and diversity. And today we have one of the kindest people in Tacoma, RJ, coming on the podcast. Thank you so much, RJ.
I really appreciate you guys asking me. I like to hear my own voice, so I'm I'm happy to guys fill up your guys' bandwidth.
Love it. Yeah, we love that so much. We just said your name, but can you kind of introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's RJ Adler. I have been actually in the beer industry, like working, getting paid for it for about 12, 13 years now. Currently, I am a market development rep for Sierra Nevada Brewing Company, but I've held, tons of different, roles throughout the years. I've done everything from brewing to marketing to graphic design to sales to all of that stuff. Yeah, exactly. Super. And a lot of drinking too. That just comes with the territory.
It does, for sure.
I feel like people in this industry like collecting titles.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I make the joke whenever, somebody's asking me about the history and kind of, what I've done. I'm like, I'm now, over a decade into this, and I've made sure that I am completely useless in any other industry. I don't know how to talk about it. Like, if I meet somebody who does a job outside of it, I was like, what? Someone pays you to do that? What is that? How?
Right.
I'm confused. How does this correlate with beer?
I can only talk about beer. Yeah. Well, that's great because that's all I want to talk about here. So that's awesome. And I'm excited.
Very one-dimensional.
Yeah, I'm excited to get into, just where all of you've been and what you've done. So we'll start off with where you grew up, where you call home.
So I'm actually what feels like some of the dwindling, the last of the native Tacomans. Yeah. So, I can point to the hospital I was born in, on my daily commute.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
This area has been just part of who I am. I make the joke that, it's either I am so well suited for the Pacific Northwest in this area specifically, or it might be Stockholm Syndrome, and I haven't really kind of delved into which one it is.
Yeah. I wouldn't dive into it.
It's fine.
This is not a bad place to be, so
No.
you're fine.
I mean, on especially a day like today, I don't know when you guys are going to release this, but we are in the mid-80s, right on the water, with the breeze coming off of it. Like, days like today is why we put up with, 6 months of gray.
Yeah.
Yep.
For sure.
This is our reward.
We're 6 weeks out, so it'll probably be like way too hot, and people will be complaining.
Yeah,
already
exactly.
sunburned.
Oh no,
But yeah.
there's nothing that Washingtonians love more than to complain about the weather.
Yeah. I think it happened maybe a month and a half ago. It was like the first nice day in April. I was working the tap room, and it was sunny out, and everybody was outside, and you knew that people hadn't been out in the sun in a while because everybody came to the tap room was just burnt.
Yes. They were like, we forgot to build a base. It's been 12 months.
You can't even build a base.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
You can't even build a base. That's the issue. Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, so I was born in Tacoma, grew up in the surrounding areas, Lakewood, Puyallup, that sort of thing. And then when I kind of started re-engaging with the Tacoma community as a whole, not just beer, but just Tacoma in general, is when I went back to school. So I was a later, older student at PLU, Pacific Lutheran University, and so that was kind of it was an interesting place to go to school because it's in Parkland, which for people who aren't in this area, it is not the highest income level area. It's basically the city is just one big strode, and so then there's this really beautiful campus right in the middle of it. And so as a commuter student, basically, I would go to school and I treat it kind of like community college, or treat it like high school or something like that, where I just go to class, then I go home, do my homework, that sort of thing.
Right.
But there's a whole population of students who are either in country specifically for school, or just local kids who are living on campus. And it was so weird. I'm just like, you guys live here?
Yeah.
There's so much cool stuff if you just take the bus to Tacoma.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? Tacoma? That's so far away.
Which is funny.
Yeah. So, but PLU is actually what got me into the beer industry.
Okay.
And it was through printing.
Like the art process?
Specifically letterpress.
Okay.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So there was a really well equipped student letterpress facility. So it had tons of movable type. I mean, this is all from like turn of the century. Like this is how newspapers were printed. This is how everything was printed, was via movable type.
Right.
And so I was on a communications track and I didn't like it at all. And so I had taken a writing course.
Okay.
And it was an autobiographical writing course, and I loved it. I thought it was so much fun. I was one of those annoying students that would be like, when it was time to read your own work, I would be like volunteer when nobody else would. It was, but
you were just bold.
Yeah. Well, also I was 26 around all these 18-year-olds.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was like, I don't care what you guys think of me. You're 18. What do you know?
Yeah.
I love that.
So anyway, I changed tracks, but I was only there for 2 years. So I had to really stuff credits into basically 2.5 years.
Right.
Or a year and a half, I should say.
Okay.
And one of the tracks was like a minor in the printing and publishing arts. And I thought it was really cool, like kind of learning about all of that. So there was a sociology course that's part of this. There was another one that I can't remember, but then printing. And printing, I was so terrified because it was an art class and I'm not an artistic person. I didn't know how to use that medium. It was all new to me, and I was terrified. And the first day of class, there was a substitute teacher. So the professor who was going to be teaching the rest of the year wasn't even there.
Wow.
Who was there was her name's Chandler O'Leary, who is a famous local artist. Okay. You can see her prints all over the place. Unfortunately, she's no longer with us, but instantly we became friendly. And then the teacher who taught the rest of the course, Jessica Spring, another famous book and letterpress artist, amazing close friend of mine now. We kind of just hit it off. Yeah. And so I became really well entrenched in the Tacoma print arts world.
Wow.
So there's, at the time it was the early years of a printing book fair called Ways Goose. Okay. Actually just happened at the main Tacoma Public Library branch. But,
gotcha.
I was friends with all of the organizers of this, and it's grown into something so much bigger. So anyway, that was kind of my introduction to it. It gave me some confidence in tapping into my creative side. It really introduced me to artists that I admire to this day and still friends with, like just very thoughtful, kind creatives. It was such a cool,
that sounds cool,
community to be a part of. So then I graduate and I don't know what to do, and I get a sales job working behind a desk. It was, tech, and I hated it. I hated working in a cubicle. I tried to dress up my desk with plants and stuff, but I can't keep plants alive. And then these dead plants sort of became like a metaphor for your life, like working in a cubicle.
Yeah.
That I named Rosemary. Nice. I was like, no, Rosemary, that's the only color I have in my life. And so out of the blue, I got a call from Chandler O'Leary.
Okay.
And she goes, hey, I might have done a bad thing. And I was like, what? And she goes, I dropped your name to like a client of mine. I was doing a graphic design job for these guys who were opening up a craft beer shop, and I said that you would be a good fit. And she goes, I don't even know if you're looking for a new job. And it was at that time where it was like, I've never done a bartending job before. I'd homebrewed a little bit.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, kind of your background. Like, did your family grow up drinking? Were you around, like, did drink in college or things like?
Oh, that's, I have never really kind of traced the lineage back that far.
Yeah.
I can go back. We can put a pin in that because
Yeah.
I've got a few things that
We'll
stand out in my memory. Yeah. But I had been homebrewing with a buddy of mine at the time. And so, Chandler knew that. Okay. And so that was the reason that she dropped my name to these owners of this craft beer store
she knew
that's
you
opening
at least
up.
like to drink beer.
Yeah,
Got
exactly.
it.
And make beer.
Yeah.
When I had graduated, I kind of dropped in on these Tuesday sessions that Jessica Spring would have at her print studio. And so it was a good way to keep up with all of these beautiful people that I had met in the print world. And invariably, I'd started talking about beer and my appreciation for beer and home brewing and stuff like that. So that's where Chandler got that knowledge from.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And the next day, I got a call from Barry Watson, who was opening up Pint Defiance here in Tacoma, and asked if I wanted to work for him, and kind of gave me the rundown. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be suited for that, but I know I need to get out of this goddamn office.
Yeah.
So, I was either the first or second hire, and I think, I'm sure I can find some pictures of the
that would be amazing
of the 13. So there's 13 doors at Pint D, and there's a picture of me and Barry standing in the store with just unopened cases of beer all laid out on the floor. And so we were doing the initial load in on that
filling
cooler.
The coolers? Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I haven't seen that picture in forever. I'm sure I could find it though.
That's very cool.
But yeah, so that was my first paid gig into it. But I had an appreciation for beer just being from the Pacific Northwest, you know? I remember having Georgetown Lucille for the first time and just falling in love with that. I would make trips to the now no longer with us 99 Bottles, which was maybe one of the very first craft beer stores in the Pacific Northwest. It was up in Federal Way. And thinking back and looking at the cooler now, I mean, they didn't even have on-prem license.
It's all to go.
That model of business didn't really exist at the time. And so we would all go and just blindly buy these 22-ounce bottles of beer and just try and find what we like, even the concept of growlers was fairly foreign to most people who walked into 99 Bottles.
When you thought of beer, it was kegs or bomber bottles. You'd never thought of glass growlers.
Yeah, it seemed weird, and it felt like we shouldn't be allowed to do this. Right. But there was so much more out in the market that didn't, because trying to package in bombers was not feasible for smaller breweries. I mean, trying to invest in a bottling line that complicated.
Sure. I'm sure back then, too, or just even 10 years ago, you didn't have the mobile canners, or you didn't have these companies that could come and do that for you. And there's no way that you could afford it either, so it makes it, you're not going to sit there and do it by hand either.
I'm sure I've never seen the quotes or anything for it, but I'm sure trying to get a bottling line is going to be in the six figures and so trying to find that investment, and then also not having any retailers that were ready to take it. Grocery stores weren't taking that. So it was a huge investment, and that's when I first tried Fremont Interurban, fell in love with that. And I mean, any self-respecting kid in the Pacific Northwest remembers the first time that they tried Manny's from Georgetown.
And I'm not from, but I remember the first time I had a Manny's.
It was
and
Mac and Jacks.
It was an initiation into
exactly. And so, I don't think I necessarily appreciated it as much as kind of was. I knew that it was unique in the area that we were living in. We've always been at the forefront in the Pacific Northwest of the kind of craft beer movement, and so it wasn't necessarily a hobby or anything like that. It was just something fun to explore, you know? And once you kind of dip your toe in, you realize that the macro stuff is not for you. And then because of the time, the search had to be part of it.
Yep.
So yeah, it was a really fun time, and it felt like you were part of a little secret club or something.
It definitely sounds like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we would buy 6-packs of stuff in bottles specifically so we could use them for homebrew.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So luckily, I've got a really close friend, my best friend. His name's Chris Tracy. He is one of those people who like finds something new and just sinks his teeth in. So like he convinced me to start homebrewing with him, mainly because he just like didn't want to do it alone.
Right.
The apartment he was living in had a demo apartment. You know what I'm talking about? It's like in the floor, like the ground floor of an apartment complex. So it was a model apartment. So people who wanted to move in could kind of get a lay of what some of the apartments were like.
Gotcha.
But it also was a communal room. The mistake that this apartment complex made was that they also installed a kitchen, which meant that we could make the biggest freaking mess we could homebrewing in there with boilovers and making messes everywhere. Nobody used the kitchen.
Right.
So we would have like homebrewing parties where like people would bring pizzas. There was a dining room, there was a living room, and we could just
that's a cool setup.
Yeah, we could basically just make a mess in this model apartment.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I love that.
And then go upstairs to your own apartment and not
Yeah, exactly, and not have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Not fess up to the uncleanable sticky mess we made on the stovetop.
Right. I do love the image too of like people possibly like walking in to see like this is what's possible in your apartment, and there you are just like Puget Sound pizza and just like racks of beer.
So, and so like we had one sink filled with ice, so we could put the put the boil kettle in there to like chill it down. We didn't even have like an immersion chiller at that time. And then in the other sink, we had empty bottles of Lagunitas floating in soapy water so we could slide the labels off.
Yep.
And then we would, and then we'd rinse them and put them in the oven, get the oven up to temp, turn off the oven, and then we could come back the next day and we would have sterilized bottles.
Yeah.
And it was a whole separate workspace that we didn't have to worry about like cleaning up. I mean, not that we were like, we weren't monsters, but
no, you're respectful. Those are like Polaroid memories. Like everybody that's gone through like homebrewing, that stuff is so relatable.
Yeah, it was a fun time. Extract brews are gross, and we were not the exception to the rule. I don't think our first batches were very good.
Yeah,
but we ended up sort of upgrading slowly our equipment. And moving kind of towards doing like all grain mashes, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so our beer inevitably got better, and we were also going out and finding new beers and trying stuff out. Our first successful all grain brew was a hybrid Wookie Jack and Sublimely Self-Righteous. From Stone, which I don't know if everybody remembers these, but Wookie Jack was a midnight wheat CDA. Before, I don't even think they called it a CDA.
It's like did they say black IPA?
I think it was labeled as a black IPA. Yeah. I think Sublimely Self-Righteous was labeled as a... No, that wouldn't work either, because it's Cascadian, so it would be...
That's true.
Why would somebody at Stone call it a Cascadian Dark Ale? So it was probably a black IPA too. Yeah. But I just loved those, that style.
Right.
And so I was like, we need to try this. And, just based on what materials we could get.
Yeah.
It was really a aha moment when we're like, hey, Chris, I think we can make good beer. I think we did it. And we were lucky, we were lucky enough just like to have places like 99 Bottles to discover new stuff. We also had the Beer Essentials, which was a early homebrew store around here, out by the base. And so like we were kind of felt like we were at the forefront of something.
Yeah.
Not like, oh, we're going to be millionaires.
Right.
Or we didn't even have the idea to monetize anything at that point.
No, yeah.
But it still felt cool and fun and
y'all loved doing it.
And novel. Yeah.
It's like the start of something new, and it's an adventure.
Exactly.
Like there's so much more to do.
Yep. Yeah, and luckily I had a brewing partner who liked to read real dry sciencey books.
Oh God!
So I would be the blue sky Imagineer, going like, we should make a beer that tastes like this, and then it was Chris's job to figure out how to do that.
Yes, data man.
Yeah, and then I'd show up and I'd like move some hoses around and stuff like that. So.
But you need those Imagineers, because sometimes the strictly science people, they can get very bogged down in the process, and it's like everything's imaginable.
Yeah. I think we made a good team. I'd be curious to hear what Chris thought I brought to it. Later on, I'm jumping ahead, but later on when we owned a brewery together, I was the sales guy, and I kind of took that role on and left the design and the brewing to my partners.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Nice. That's wild. Oh my gosh. Okay. So you grew up around, obviously, good beer here in the PNW, finding new stuff, home brewing. You get this job at the bottle shop. What happens next?
So that was...
and also for just for timeline reference, was that 2011? I forget when Pint D opened.
Pint D opened in 2012, September of 2012.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I had probably been home brewing maybe 2-3 years before that.
Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, when Pint D opened, because of the time it was, the owners, specifically Barry, really focused on education. He even signed me and him up to do a early beer education class. It was basically a BJCP class, like 9-week upstairs at the E9 at the engine house.
That's right.
Yeah,
I forgot they would do those.
Yeah. Trevor Nichols taught those classes, and still a close friend of mine.
Yeah, good guy.
But yeah, it was so much. It was so much fun, but I took it very seriously. I wanted to make sure that everybody who walked into Pint D wasn't mystified or intimidated or anything like that. Yeah. I think probably our strength as a bottle shop was having a super welcoming, not like beer nerd, there's that archetype of the video store geek, where it's just like, oh, I can't believe you haven't seen this super lesser known Kurosawa or some shit like that. That was the opposite of what we wanted. Yeah, it's like if I saw a new face, I would be standing next to him. How's your day going? What have you tried recently that you liked? Maybe I can give some recommendations. Or if you just want to stand back and take it all in, just tell me to fuck off. That was kind of that attitude that I wanted to cultivate in there.
I think that's so perfect and so amazing, because as people, well, for me, myself, who didn't really know anything, going into a shop like that when I was in Nashville was so helpful. They were able to talk to you and walk you through stuff, and they'd give you samples of stuff to make sure you found something that you liked, because they wanted you to enjoy it just as much as they did, the beer so they were like, come to the club, so I think that's such a beer community thing as well, being able to welcome people in and be like,
it's
come on in.
The idea is I think this is interesting, and I want my enthusiasm to be infectious. I want you to be just as enthused about this. I think that was a big strength of ours, and we had just a wide variety of employees. We all had our own regulars we were kind of protective of. See a familiar face and be like, get out of the way, I'm gonna help Austin out.
That was also enjoyable. I can attest. That's when I started drinking at Pint Defiance, was 2012, but definitely the community you guys cultivated was there for the business, but mainly for y'all. And the regulars that were super custom, and you could just tell. I mean, somebody would be in line and JJ would be like, hey, what do you want? I could be in line with friends and RJ be like, hey, what are you drinking? And that made you feel special. Then that also translated obviously into more money spent, more tips, and literally just self-fed. And that community blossomed.
That's the secret. If people like being there, they're gonna come back.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
And I had so much. I do miss being behind the bar. That's the last time I was behind a bar. And I miss doing that. And I can be a little spicy at times, and so like I love flipping people's shit. That was so much fun. Like I'd see this regular, and I knew what seat he was going to grab, and I knew what he was going to drink. And so when he sat down, there would be a pint sitting in front of him,
right?
And he'd be like, "So what's this?" And I go, "That's the beer I picked for you." And he goes, "Well, what is it?" And I go, "It's the beer I picked for you. Shut up and drink it."
Yeah, you're gonna like it.
And I knew which regulars could put up with that, and kind of liked getting the gentle ribbing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think just having that time and place where we built a community around it, and it was so much fun.
I remember the first time I went, Austin had been telling me I'd only been in Tacoma for like 2 months. And we had just started.
This is 2018.
Why did you wait 2 months to bring her?
She just got there.
Well, and we didn't. There's a whole other story. But he brought me there. He went and picked up some tacos. He was like, because he'd been telling me about, this place and all this stuff. So we went. I remember sitting like exactly where we sat, and we had tacos and beer. And like, it was great.
Looking back to, like, you talk about time and place, I think like right around that time, like coming out of 2010 and those early years, there was just such a like you said, like fascination and excitement about craft beer, and it was starting to kind of get this like upward like wave going, but it wasn't to this point where it was like all about like, oh, now we can make money off this. It literally was just like, this is cool. I want to share it. And like that was, I think I look back now, I'm just like, that was a glad that was super like we had that time.
I didn't get to see kind of like the bigger national data of like trends and stuff like that. I only had anecdotal stuff of the people that walked in my door and the breweries that I went to go visit. But like I'm sure if we like get back into a Wayback Machine, we'll see there was like local news stuff about like the rise of craft beer and like starting to see just this upward trend of new breweries opening up and all of the materials suppliers. And like, I mean, I remember when we were just trying to upgrade our homebrew system, like we wanted to go up, we were considering maybe doing like a 1 barrel.
Oh yeah.
And we couldn't get our hands on equipment. There was no resale market at the time. And all the like manufacturers were either out of our price range or backed way the heck up. And we wouldn't be able to get our equipment for like 18 months.
Especially stuff that small too. It's like there wasn't like a large inventory for it.
Exactly. So I mean, there definitely were those sort of like call signs of a much kind of bigger trend towards people being a little bit more mindful of the things that they drank and where it came from. It's alcohol. It's still bad for us. We're still drinking poison, but it's like, if we're going to drink poison, let's make sure we know and like the people that make it, and we know that it's made around the corner so we can get it fresh. Like that was a big deal at the time. But then we also got stoked when like stuff from out of state was able to come in or whatever, right?
It's always fun.
Because it was something new. There was always a hunt. Like everybody wanted the next like Untapped badge or whatever, right?
Well, that was the one thing that I was never around, and I wish I could have experienced that, like the standing in line for beers, all these like trying it for the first time, all these things. Like I was never around for that, and where I was like didn't really have that. So
I can only speak on this area. I'm not saying we are the ones that started it, but I feel like more West Coast is where all of this kind of like hype of like procuring beer or getting this new beer, because you had breweries on the East Coast that were literally built off that like treehouse, and that's not knocking anything they've not done, but it's just like the West Coast, there was so much going on and moving around, and then people were like, oh, but what if we can get it shipped to us from other places? And nobody has any like Clown Shoes. Nobody here, I think, knew what Clown Shoes was, and then it started popping up everywhere. And it's like, where do you get this? It's like, oh, I have a buddy who like ships it to me, and it's like, oh, and then that was like the next generation.
We had some regulars of ours who had family back in Michigan, and so whenever they would go visit their family, they'd come back and they'd have like a half rack of Cold Smoke.
Oh yes,
from Kettle House.
Yes, Kettle House Brewing.
Man.
Yeah.
It seems like forever ago now.
It does.
But yeah, it was so much fun. I remember the glee in the eyes of one of my regulars who like opened up, he like had a little cooler bag and he only had 6 cans in there, and he gave each one of us a can of Yingling.
Oh, yeah.
And he was so happy. He was so happy to share it. And I was like, oh, that is the sweetest thing.
That is so cool.
Yeah, and so like that attitude sort of permeated everything. We just wanted everybody to try everything cool, you know, and get our hands on whatever we could that was like rare or unique or whatever. Yeah, well, it was a fun time.
Or even just different.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, just different.
With our travels, we've loved being able to do that. Like we need to go out to the store. We have some beer to give out to some friends in Astoria, and we were able to, you know, bring beer from all over. Like, you know, the stuff we have for you is from Maine. Like, that's really cool to, like, I don't know, it's cool to share stuff from other states.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and you know, like, so much doom and gloom and ink has been spilled about, you know, the current state of the beer industry and the market retraction and stuff like that. But there are still like these bright spots that like really stand out, where it's like, we get to do this still. It's really cool. I mean, like, I've been on a Instagram diet, but you know, like I'd open it up during the Firestone Invitational, and basically every single post was somebody from a brewery at the Firestone at Firestone Walker. And like I shit you not, it was, you know, maybe 12 posts in a row, all different accounts, all in the same place. And there's still magic to be had, you know. It's just, you know, a little bit harder to find, and I think it takes more effort.
I think a lot of the stuff that's fed to us online or in the news is supposed to like give us like, whether it's fear or anxiety, and you just have to like take a breath and remind yourself, like look outside your bubble a little bit, because there is, like you said, eventually you just get tired of like feeling bad or feeling like everything is shit, and you almost have to like when Captain Jack Sparrow flips the ship upside down, it's like you just have to do that. It's like everybody's already sad. What if we just like tried to be insanely positive? What if we just tried that and see how it feels?
Right. Yeah. And I mean, like, there's still that opportunity to just like kind of marvel at what we have access to.
Oh yes.
Yeah, like where it's definitely a lot more experiential for me, just because I'm, you know, going on 15 years and I'm probably more jaded, and I'm 42 now, so it just comes with the territory.
You don't look 42, so
thank
congrats.
you. I moisturize.
Oh, there you go.
But yeah, I mean, there's still lots of opportunities, man. Like it's there if you just want to seek it out.
Yeah, for sure.
Know? I mean, like, obviously it's still a business. Obviously people got to make money. Obviously there are market forces out of our control. But you know, it's there has always been challenges.
Yep.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
they're just a little bit more at the forefront.
Yeah, we love being able to like do the interviews and talk with people and like bring some happiness back. Like going back down memory lane, I think for a lot of people has been like super fun and exciting to be like, oh yeah, that's what like I loved, and that's why I did this, and that's why it's like helps kind of reignite some passion that may have been lost or whatever, and just a reminder.
Like outside of the really cool fests and stuff like that, there is still some really unique experiences. I mean, I'm sure you guys got a chance to see this in person, but I was watching the YouTube episode about Oxbow, and they're like the ski up bar, the ones where you have to you rent skis cross country. You have to cross country to this bar.
It's the coolest. I'll show you a photo. It's the coolest place. Yeah, we love it. We didn't get to do that experience, but we were there at that location.
Yeah, we got to hang out with Tim a handful of times.
He's great.
But it's a barn, and it's on this plot of land that the Maine Parks helps take care of. That's snowshoeing, cross country skiing in the winter
like the state park.
I don't know if it's a state park or a local park. But so it is maintained and helped by Maine, the state, and then also Oxbow. Okay. And then they have their like essentially their beer barn there, but they have rentals, and they do a lot of fun events out there. But it is. Those are like they're such special places, and not many people know, but like Tim from Oxbow is also like a professional like fly fisherman sponsored by Yeti. So when he's not like making beer and creating ideas, he is out like fishing. Living life like river runs through it.
Well, I think on the topic of just like kind of the state of the market, you guys have a pretty unique perspective on it, because we're all in we're all kind of in our own worlds, right? Like we know what our communities what the capacity is for the drinkers in our community. We know what we need to make. We know what sells, that sort of thing. But you guys got to see a lot of all throughout the country.
Yeah. It's 13 states.
Yeah.
And so, like, you know, my gut tells me that the Pacific Northwest was at the forefront. And so we are seeing the dip sooner than what other places have. Has your guys' travels like confirmed that? I mean, or what, not confirmed, but, you know, like what did you see out there?
Yeah. What's our observation?
Yeah. Just in terms of like capacity for the market, you know, like.
I would definitely, I mean, I would agree with part of that statement, and I think a big part of that is because of how, I mean, we're spoiled for hops, for malt, for a lot of our innovations, and I also think just like equipment and processes out here because we are so saturated with breweries this heavy on the coast. And as we went through the states, you saw more of maybe what you would see in like 2012 to 2015. You had like these craft breweries that were very like locally supported, and there were some like bigger ones that were like competitive, but there still was just like this enjoyment and community based around it. And it didn't feel like there's a whole lot of like fight for competition.
There's definitely not that much fighting for competition, even in really saturated places.
But I will say this too, and it's funny how these are what these breweries are really good at, and now like what everybody's drinking now is like very like clean, crisp, quaffable, not high in ABV. That's like what a lot of these breweries were situated on. But then when it came to like hoppy beers, that's where they were, I would say, like more wary or not as versed, and so it wasn't like even something like on their mind. Like their IPAs, unless you went to certain breweries, you know, a lot of their IPAs were very like simple. It was like, oh yeah, we use like 2 or 3 hops and that's it, you know. Whereas in the poundage per barrel wasn't as intense as it can be over here, but it definitely did. It felt like it was like 5 to 7 years, not like behind in like process or like their innovation, but it, like you said, like it has yet to come, and we'll see what happens, you know.
From a technical standpoint, I feel like there's a pretty openness to sharing between brewers. You know, I'm not a brewer myself, but I know a lot of brewers, and it's not like anybody is going to be super secretive about how they go about doing things. Although I will tell you that I feel like there is a little bit of that in the new like craft non-alc stuff.
I bet so.
There are processes that some brewers are doing, and I feel like they're maybe a little bit more secretive of it.
We only talked to only a few of the breweries that we talked to had started doing NAs.
Like their own non-alcoholic options.
And some had even started doing some CBD and THC stuff. But nothing really to scale, I would say. It'd be like, you know, they'd have stuff in the tap room, but they weren't canning it and putting it out in the market. It was just something they offered in the tap room specifically. So that will be very interesting.
There's lots of different ways to create non-alc beers these days.
We've tasted a ton, and we can always tell if it's going to be good or not.
I mean, the Sierra Nevada Trail Pass and then the Well-Being, like Victory Wheat,
we love the
are probably like our 2
Well-Beings.
favorite non-alcoholics. Well-Being, it's got this lady looks like the Statue of Liberty with like wings. It's usually in a 16-ounce can.
Got it. Okay.
And like that is like a non-alcoholic with like orange in it, but it tastes great.
Yeah, like a Blue Moon or something.
We usually find like a lot of the non-alcoholics, even this, not talking shit, but even like Best Day or Athletic, you just get that like you know, like Whoppers, the candy that just like malt, like you get a lot of that like malt sweetness, and like that's just like what it tastes like. I'm just drinking like malt water, which essentially that's what it is. It's really hard when it's like an IPA or anything to get any of that hop aroma, and I feel like that's where then the brewery is like, well, we aren't going to do like a hoppy non-alcoholic, we'll just do hop water, and we can use all these tinctures and all these oils to bring that out. Like Fort George's, was it Fruit Loops?
Fruit Loops.
That's great. Lagunitas, so the hoppy water. We love that. And I feel like that's where people find more success. For those options.
It's definitely interesting.
I find it really fascinating just from a technical standpoint. And, you know, like Sierra Nevada just took home a gold for the Trail Pass Hazy.
Oh, nice.
And I think it's due to the brewer's unique take on it. I'm trying to avoid saying we, even though I am employed by them right now. only because
you're not stealing valor.
Well, here's what they didn't consult me at all when it came to brewing this beer.
Right.
They have literally decades of brewing knowledge, more than I have or will ever have.
Right.
I get to sell it, which is nice because I get to say talk about the metal and everything like that.
Nice.
But it is truly like the best non-alcoholic beer I've ever tasted, and I branched out.
Yeah.
So
we've definitely done a lot of our research, and I would say for if there's anything non-alcoholic IPA, the Trail Pass is fucking great.
Yeah.
You just have to. I think if you're in the industry long enough, and especially as we start to get older,
hangovers hurt more.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like you want to go and have fun. Like it's such a social thing. It's like if we're sober for a few weeks or whatever to whatever, or just not wanting a drink that day or whatever. It's hard to find good stuff. And so now I am thankful that there is more coming out, which will only make it better and better. Yeah. So I am excited for that because that's just helpful. And
this is what I tell, people is that we have seen double-digit growth in non-alc, the non-alc bev segment. And it is people who are coming from craft beer, craft cocktails or stuff, which... The thing that really kind of defines those segments is options.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if there are places that only carry one type of non-alc, it's like, why are you doing this to your customers?
Yep.
Your customers want options.
Yep. Did you know there's N.A. Bush?
Yes, I did.
Okay. It tastes great. I had it at 11:11. I was like, this is fantastic. Bush Light just tastes like, or Bush just tastes like Bush. I was like, this tastes like Bush, but there's no alcohol. I was like, that's perfect.
I was pretty impressed when I first tried the Heineken 0.0. It tasted exactly like Heineken.
Yeah.
But a lot of that I think is the green bottle too. But I can't state to any amount of confidence about how that stuff's made.
Yeah.
That's a secret.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's interesting working now for a brewery that is so data driven, and they give all of us access to all of this multi-channel data for different markets, classes of trade, all of that. It definitely is easier to kind of fall into that doom and gloom because there's so much red everywhere.
Oh, right.
And I think it's really useful and it's empowering to have access to all of that data.
Yeah.
But you kind of you lose the trees for the forest. Is that the right saying? You know what I'm saying? If you zoom out too far, you kind of miss all the cool stuff.
100%.
Yeah.
And you also can't live with your head buried in the sand. It's good, even if it. I mean, we talk about this. If it's just stuff in your normal life, I know my budget's tight, and it's I don't want to look at my bank account because it's going to scare me. It's but if you look at it, you know what you can work with.
Yeah.
And I feel like having that attitude for the forecast, being it may be scary, but there's other things that are growing and that you can do that it doesn't have to be as terrifying.
Just like you said, finding those things and working with that. I think it's so amazing. I do really think that all the breweries that we've talked to and places that we've gone, people are doing well. I think they're, with everything that is happening, I think things will be weeded out, but I don't think there's still going to be places. It's not like the craft beer industry is not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Business is business, and I mean, small business is always a gamble, and it stinks, but we hope that everyone makes it, but not everyone can sometimes, and so I think there's definitely a shiny new toy element to the bev alc industry as a whole, with RTD cocktails and flavor malt beverages, and I was just in a Total Wine building a display, and I counted 8 new hard iced tea brands.
Oh, wow.
Both RTD and FMBs.
Okay.
For anybody that doesn't know, one is spirit based and the other one is malt based.
Yeah.
And so there's a Lipton hard iced tea. There's all this stuff in Arizona. All of these regular. I'm surprised we don't have alcoholic Snapple at this point.
Right.
So there definitely is a lot of the bigger brands who are kind of marketing on already well-established brands to put something out there into an already oversaturated market. Something will it's a throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. But there are drinkers who are no longer loyal to just one type of drink. And they're willing to try out this other stuff. So I think we're in a moment of there's a lot of everybody's attention being spread out. And it's less of a monoculture when it comes to craft beer and specifically. Because either people have aged out of it, they're drinking less. Like I think Ron Swarner said something really interesting when I was last on their podcast. They said kids don't want to do their parents' drugs.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
And I'm like, that is so interesting. I completely agree that like it was cool when we were getting into it. And then it became less cool.
Well, and then everyone's bringing their kids to the tap rooms, and so all these kids were like, "I went to the tap room all the time. Like, I don't want to go."
Yeah, they grew up in them.
I got forced to come here. Before I could even do anything. Why would I want to go there now that I'm of age? Right. So I completely agree.
And it could go the exact opposite way. Like, this is what we do. Like, this is what I grew up with. Or
But it makes sense because all these kids that aren't drinking, but they're all buying vintage clothes. You know, they're all doing these things that like kind of like we were like once we grew out of them, we're like, okay, this is dead and done. And they're like, oh, we're not going to drink craft beer, but we're going to buy like Harley Davidson T-shirts, and we're going to go drink vintage drinks like Old English, and it's like. What?
And buy our weed across the counter.
I always make this joke, but it's like we can microdose now because it's healthy, and it's like you don't even remember what it was like to buy mushrooms from like a dude at a concert venue in like a brown paper bag, and it wasn't weighed out.
You gotta like try and be friendly to this fucking burnout, and like you're just like, well, if he doesn't like me, he won't sell me drugs.
His dreads smell like pepperoni. You're like, oh my
god. So I'm kind of curious in your guys' travels. Are there standout events or moments? Not necessarily beer itself, but like we've all had that moment where beer tastes best because it's in the right setting. Do you guys have like a standout recently?
So many.
Well, no, you don't need to enumerate it, but like
I think what we do, and Matt gave us a good perspective. We had Matt McLaren on. And he talked about how
I love that dude.
He's awesome.
I don't want to let it pass. I love Matt. He's great. Love you, Matt.
He made a good point about how beer for a while used to be like, this is it. This is the focus. And he's like, now people are realizing like it's accompaniment to what you are doing, like whatever that may be, whether it's an event or you're at a restaurant. He's like, we want that to be just as fluid as everything else in the environment. And so, like, that's, like, a good way to approach of, like, when we look at a lot of things, like the beer dinner at the River Mills facility of Sierra Nevada.
Sure.
And it wasn't just because the beer was good. The setting, the place, the servers, the food, like, everything was just, like, that's why that sticks out. Because the beer was great, but if it didn't have anything else other than that, it would just be like, awesome, we had, like, great pints. But it wouldn't be as, like, stuck in our head. We went to Norway Brewing Company up in Maine, and they carved
just
chunks
down the
out.
street from the Oxbow where you can ski.
From the Oxbow
like
beer barn.
Just down the street.
But we went there when they do like ice sculptures during the winter, and they cut these blocks of ice from the lake, and they're huge.
They're like this thick.
And we're out there with like his mom and him and his friend and their artists, and they're carving it. And we did this beer luge, and it like that's why it was like great. So like seeing and having events like that where it's like. That's what's
they put lights in the ice, so we were there and in the evening and it was dark and they had a fire going and like I'll show you a picture. Like it was so much fun, and we have stuff that we're looking forward to. Yeah,
we're gonna do the Loggerhead Fest at No Boat, which is just it looks like a blast. And of course, there's so many great breweries going to it, but I think the way they present it, I'm just like this should be an awesome event.
I will say that like maybe one of my favorite beer events that I've ever attended. Was at the Slow Boat Tavern. May she rest in peace. They had the smoke show where he like just tapped up all Rauch Hellas beers. And had
we know how much you love
and had
those.
And had barbecue, like smoke on smoke. It was the most niche freaking thing, and I loved it so much because. not that we can get a little pretentious, but like everybody who was there wanted to be there and knew what they were getting into.
You and we're like, the bartenders don't have to ask. Have you ever had one before?
Are you sure you want this?
Sure you want this?
Yeah. You can't send it back. Do you want to taste first? And it's like all of us were just like, oh, I can't believe these losers that don't want to be here. This is great. But yeah, it was so much fun. And so I think like finding like more niche events, but also making an event out of it. Like I think breweries and whoever runs tap rooms, like take a note from the culinary world. Make it feel exclusive, make it feel intimate, make it something that you can create FOMO around again. Sure.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I think there's tons of opportunity to do this. It just takes time and effort, and we're all strapped for time as it is.
Yeah.
Oh, all the time. Like I love events. I've done events for a long time, and every time we go anywhere, and I'm talking, we're talking to these, brewers or brewery owners, or we at Brickstore, they do cheese and beer pairings. They bring in, that was one that I was trying to remember.
They'll do cheese and beer pairing from a brewery, but the brewery also picks the vinyl that gets played for it, and it's a whole. So the chef does the cheese, the brewery brings the beer, and they will talk, and he'll figure it out. And it's upstairs in their Belgian bar, and it's this intimate space, but everybody's
so
stoked
tiny.
and excited.
You're all like packed in.
Oh my god, yeah, it's a blast. But it is. It's like it doesn't even have to fit 500 people. It was like 30 people in there, and it was just a lot of fun. And that is a good point. Like make people miss something, because I feel like we're in a world that changes so constantly, and of course we have devices that we're sucked into and work and all of this that you almost forget to stop and just like sit down on the bench and be like, okay, this is what's happening right now. This is the moment.
This is pretty cool.
And
I don't even need to like show any of my Instagram followers or whatever,
right? Because that does take, when you're like sitting there like focused through this, it's like just put it down and look. It's like, cool, I can keep this in my brain forever. And when I tell friends about it and they want to be like, oh, I get your excitement, it's like, yeah, be there next time. Be there next time.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I know this is kind of a roundabout way because we were talking about events, but you talked about how you get to boast about all your friends and coworkers who have decades of brewing experience, but you do have brewing experience with a brewery, your own brewery. Which I will never.
That's a great segue. Good job, buddy.
Thank you. Yeah,
like you've done this before.
I've been watching a lot of podcasts, a lot of hot ones, a lot of Sean Evans from Hot Ones. Thank you.
So Northish Beer Company was our short-lived brewing experiment. It was me, Chris, who I had mentioned before. We made enough good homebrew that we decided that maybe we could do something more than that. And like, I'm not going to say Chris dragged us kicking and screaming, but he definitely had the LLC paperwork ready to go and had a pen ready to go. And so I trusted him. I put my faith in his hands, and it was incredibly hard, and it was incredibly fulfilling. We did something pretty unique and not advisable from a business standpoint, and did not create a tap room for our own beer, which, as anybody who has any business acumen knows, that's how you get your margins, is like your own tap room.
Right.
But we got in on the ground floor when a storage facility was being built.
Okay.
And so they wanted to make it storage, but also make a lot of the front parts of things. They wanted retail space, and so there was retail space at the front. So we got into the ground floor at a storage facility that was being built, not far from our places, and the storage facility is not optimal. We might have had an option to get a front retail space. But we weren't necessarily there yet. We wanted to kind of prove ourselves that we could brew the quality of beer that we thought we could on a full 3-barrel brew house. But what was awesome is they plumbed in a floor drain for us, and they dropped 3 50 amp three phase circuits for awesome. Like where it was an all electric brew house, so we needed that power. They did not charge us for water, which was incredible.
Nice. That's wild.
So all of the drawbacks of just working in a like basically just a storage garage, and the people who plumbed in the floor drain did not put a grade on the floor, so we got real good with squeegees.
Wow.
Also, due to the restrictions on the space, because ultimately storage spaces are meant to be flipped and utilized other ways and that sort of thing, other than the floor drain and the circuits, they didn't, we couldn't attach anything to the walls.
Oh, interesting.
So we had to get creative with like heavy magnets.
Wow.
Trying to convince farmers to come pick up our spent grain was difficult to do. We couldn't get people reliably showing up, especially because, we, all three of us, me and Chris and my brother, we all had day jobs.
Yeah.
And so our brewing schedules could be fairly erratic. And everything was DIY. We built a cooler out of 2x4s and like foam insulation.
Oh my gosh.
Oh damn.
We built a walk-in cooler out of that, like just out of these raw materials, or I should say, Chris did most of the work. But it was a very, very DIY thing. And just like distilleries, we needed to create quick beer. We needed to turn and burn in order to make rent. But rent wasn't that expensive, and they weren't. I would have to check with Chris. I don't even think they were charging us for electricity.
Wow. Okay, so you were just paying rent essentially.
We were just paying rent, so we had the ability to make mistakes and go at our own pace. And we're paying out of pocket for this stuff. But our break even point was fairly low, which meant that we could invest in wood cooperage barrels. So we sourced barrels from a bunch of different places. At the time that we sold the brewery, I think we had 36 used wine barrels that had like all sorts of mixed fermentation experiments and different types of beers in it. I really wanted to institute a tracker for what's in the barrels for how long and what we did to it, an actual cellarman, but I had no cellarman experience. All I knew is that I wanted to name all the barrels after Simpsons characters, and that was basically my contribution to it. I love
that. That's important.
Yeah, you got to name the barrels. Right. There was a couple magic stuff. We were very inspired by the Rare Barrel.
Oh, yes.
Which was a brewing project. I don't even know if they're still around. I haven't seen Rare Barrel stuff in a while.
Not in a long time.
Okay. But that it was, the Rare Barrel was actually named after New Belgium, with their barrel program, with like Lauren heading up the barrel program at New Belgium, and kind of like the myth. It's not the myth, but the legacy, the history. Sorry, I'm forgetting the word I'm thinking of, but Oscar and Felix.
Yeah.
These were the mother sours. And so it was this legacy that was like started at Petrus, that moved over to New Belgium, that then, was inherited by Rare Barrel. And like nowhere, we did not think we were at the caliber of these, but we wanted to still play around with that sort of barrel fermentation systems, and really kind of we wanted to figure out how blending worked, and how we go about blending and maybe adding fruit, and at what time during the process that was. So there was a ton of experimentation going on, and I'm sure Chris's marriage was not necessarily. No, they're great. I'm not going to say that. I'm just saying his wife was probably not as happy with him spending as much time in the brewery.
Attention was diverted.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I want to say I love them both. They're still some of my best friends. They're getting home from vacation today. I'm picking up their dog.
Oh yeah, nice.
Oh, yeah. He spent a lot of time just in the barrelage and pulling nails and figuring some stuff out. And we came up with some really, really good beers. There was some stuff that I was very proud of. But, we're talking 2018, and it was very hard to hand sell cases of 500 mil cork and cage mixed fermentation beers. People had kind of moved on from that. The sour craze was on its decline. It was all about milkshake IPAs and like pastry stouts and stuff like that, which we could not be less interested in doing.
What color glass did you use
for our bottles? We had brown. I wanted green depending on what we were putting
into it. You had green
it.
bottles. I bought Because Ghosts and it was green.
You are correct. You bought Because Ghosts, which was brewed at Three Magnets.
Oh,
it was
that's
part of their farmhouse series. Yeah.
Damn.
But yeah, that was a very specific choice that we made for that beer. Still, maybe my greatest claim.
What's the story or reason behind the green glass? Why you chose it?
Saison DuPont.
Oh, okay.
Saison DuPont is my desert island beer.
Okay.
When I left Pint Defiance, the owners surprised me with a framed Saison DuPont tin tacker that had been signed by all of our regulars and employees and stuff like that.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, that has always stood out as one of my favorite beers. And that being said, I will only drink Saison DuPont out of green glass.
Oh, I love that.
Which is only the 11. No, the 11.2 is in brown glass. The 750 is in brown glass. It's not 500 mil though. It's a little smaller than. It's like 3 something. 325 maybe.
375. Is that
maybe? I don't know.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I think
anyway, there is a middle size cork and cage Saison DuPont
out of a green
package
glass.
Out of green glass that just hits.
Yeah.
As the kids today would say, it
slaps.
It slaps.
But yeah, so it was a very mindful choice to use green glass when we were packaging that. I came to Three Mags when Pat Jansen and Jeff Stokes were still there, and I had collected up a bunch of smoked mixed fermentation beers. So we had something from Jolly Pumpkin, something from Jester King. I had a few others that I can't even remember at this point.
Yeah.
But I really loved that intersection of smoke and sour, and I wanted to create a beer that had smoke influence but not a smoked beer, and had sour influence but wasn't a sour beer. And what resulted was, to this day, I think, the perfect distillation of what I love about beer. It was perfect. Like, Chris and Jeff just knocked it out of the park. And our mutual friend Chris Clark, when he was moving, he still had a bottle. I had one last year.
Nice.
And it still tasted amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I kind of wish I didn't have it, because now I can't have it. And I didn't want to be reminded. I wanted it to be oxidized. I wanted it to be gross, and I wanted it to be not as good as I remember. I wanted to hate it. And it was so good. After, I think we brewed that in 2016.
I was about to say, because when you said 2018, I was like, I remember buying that at Pint Defiance.
Yeah, so
like
it was
2015 or 16.
Yeah, it was like 8 years old at that point.
Yeah.
So,
and that was cool too, because they had the release for it at Pint Defiance, and I'm pretty sure every single regular and their friends showed up, and I don't know if there was a bottle left. Everybody made sure that like everybody got at least a bottle, and it was I
had a bunch of older guys who tend to be stuck in their ways go like, I'm normally into IPAs, but this is really good.
You're like, yeah.
That's what I was trying to get at, man. Like something approachable, unique, and kind of come at it from a culinary standpoint of like playing around with those levels about like, we didn't put it in oak. We didn't use any like lactobacillus or I don't think there was any Brett in there.
Yeah, do you have the recipe? Do you all have the recipe?
No, I think I think Three Magnets might still have it, or Jeff Stokes might be able to maybe reverse engineer it.
Gotcha. How'd you get some of that acidity then if you didn't put it into oak?
Acidulated malt.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it was a very small addition of acidulated malt just to kind of like change that pH. And then it was like just a kiss of smoked malt in there. Yeah. Just almost nothing. But yeah, God, that was a good beer. That was before.
He needs to go to Blue Ox and their
Blue Ox Malt House.
Their malt house in Maine.
Oh,
they had just got a smoker whenever we.
Cool.
Yeah.
I love it. Like even when I moved, so we had sold the brewery and I had moved on to beer wholesaler.
Gotcha. What time is this?
So I left Pint D in 2017.
Gotcha.
So I put 2 years in at our beer wholesaler. 2017, 2018. Because I joined Sierra Nevada in 2020, right at the beginning of the pandemic. So it was around this time. So I had joined our beer wholesaler, and I still would use my accounts to like buy I guess we still had the brewery because I was like buying kegs to tap up in our homemade walk-in cooler just so I could fill growlers of it, because at the time the Freem smoked Hellas was only available in kegs, and it was only available in 6 barrels. So I had one of my accounts. I was like, hey, can you bring in a keg of Freem for me? It wasn't even in my house. It wasn't in my wholesaler distributor. It was in a competing wholesaler. And I was like, I would like a keg of this. Yeah. And so she talked to her rep, had it brought in, and then I took it to the brewery. Me and Chris and Clay probably emptied out that keg in like a week. Just going to the brewery, filling growlers and leaving. But yeah, like I still used my my connections to be able to get more of like those smoke beers and stuff like that. I just love it so much. And Freem does a really freaking good one.
They've always cultivated good brewing talent. And also, I mean, having worked there in their production, the lab team, the production team, like that shit's so on point. It is insane the level of concentration they would put into the quality control of their products.
Before we move on from the brewery, how'd y'all come up with a name for it?
Northish? I'm sure you guys have experienced the same thing. Naming something is maybe the hardest thing that I've ever done.
Says.
Trying to name something by consensus was so difficult. Beers, they come and go. It was we put less pressure on ourselves to do that. But this is going to be something that was going to be on every single bottle on our tap handle. And so we were kicking around a few different ideas. I don't even remember some of the alternates that we were kicking around, but we had that name as part of maybe top 5 or 6. And then my brother drew this logo that was basically an N reflected on the water, but it was done very simply, very sort of like straight lines, very clean. And when I saw that, I was just like, that has to be our name and that has to be our logo. I just thought it was so simple and easily replicatable, and can be used in lots of different stuff. So the Northish thing, it was like we weren't Seattle, but we also are Oregon. We're like we're fairly north. We're like northish, and that's
I love that.
I like it sounds like something that I would do. I feel like I add ish onto a lot of stuff.
North-ish.
So I can't say that. I can't take all the credit for it, but it sounds like something I would make up.
But it's a cool way to represent, of like the place you're in, where you grew up, and where you're at.
I liked that it didn't sound pretentious.
Yes.
And, it sounded just like there's a little tinge of fun in there. Like, we don't take ourselves too seriously.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, your tap handles were like random trophies you'd find at Goodwill.
So those were dude, that was I was really proud of myself for that. That was my doing.
Like karate ones or bowling.
So we had these we got a wood burnishing tool, and so we were just using sort of like offcuts, not quite barrel staves, but we would use these offcuts that we would burn with the logo, and we'd lacquer it, and those were our regular tap handles. But our first 5 accounts got custom tap handles.
Yep.
The Red Hot got a an old PC flight stick controller.
Oh, rad.
That I was able to dismantle and get it to adapt to a faucet. And then Parkway got a soccer trophy. With a little girl is playing soccer that I got at the thrift store, but her arm had been broken off, but it was broken off right at the sleeve, so it looked like she was supposed to have one arm.
Right.
And I went to shout out to Tacoma Screw. They had this sort of hex adapter. So if you found a thrift store trophy, you could unscrew the bottom, use this little screw, and it would directly adapt onto a faucet, and it would keep the trophy all together.
That's awesome.
And then I think Ron at Peace and Pint still uses our karate trophy, and the best part was I grabbed a really tall one. So like when we first tapped up our beer, I was like, look, we got the tallest tap handle.
Yeah.
On the entire log.
It's a big log too.
Yeah. And then I remember Copper Door got this weird sort of like tchotchke, this hobo leaning against a fence that I was able to get like a screw into the bottom of it. It was very strange.
Yeah.
I really wish I could find that.
I was going to say, were you able to recover any of these?
Parkway still has theirs up above the
Oh, that's legendary.
Yeah, they got it on the ceiling. As far as I know, Ron's still using the karate one for other breweries and stuff like that. I don't know what happened to the other ones.
The Copper Door one I probably got.
Yeah, I will say that I stole this idea is not mine. It was Cloudburst's.
Oh, gotcha.
You guys know about the Cloudburst tap handles?
No.
So they used to use umbrella handles. I think Steve Luke was telling me about this, or maybe it was Noah, and he was telling me that they basically found this box of like surplus Italian umbrella wood handles.
Oh, rad.
And so like it just so happened that like the screw was the same as a faucet, so they just wrapped red and blue tape around the bottom of it, and most people got the umbrella handles.
That's so cool.
Which are hard to do because it's like hooked. And so like if your faucets are right up against the wall, you couldn't get it on there.
Yeah.
But I want to say their first 10 or maybe 5 like first accounts, they got Cloudburst branded dildos over their tap handles.
That's awesome. I mean, this is the guy that they went to GABF after Elysian got bought and Cloudburst was starting, and they were like, they had underneath their shirts, they won the first award. They won gold for it, and underneath their shirts it said "fuck AB and Bev."
Yeah.
That was like the lead off to it.
Yeah. So Steve and the rest of the Cloudburst team is not afraid of being a little crass speaking their mind. Yeah,
Fuck
exactly.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
So I took that idea and ran with it.
That's some cool inspiration.
I hit the Value Village and just tried to find stuff that would be interesting tap handles.
I love that
so much.
Yeah. So that was like my creativity that I brought to this, is like I was the sales guy. But yeah, we made some pretty interesting beer, and there's still a couple of bottles that I brought for you guys that that have stuck around in my cellar for a while.
Because I never got to try it.
We'll try it, and we'll definitely, because eventually our goal is to have like a beer cafe with a small brew system, and we've talked about like bottles and things we'd want to keep up, and that's when I was like, if RJ brings us beer, we are going to keep a bottle, and it's going to sit up there.
Remind me, I'll get you some with labels, because none of these are labeled.
That's okay. No worries.
You can have just a plain brown bottle up there, and then you can talk about the mythos.
People,
actually, I've got, this is off topic, I apologize, but this is fun. So for anybody who isn't as like ingratiated into the craft beer scene as the three of us are, it's pretty ubiquitous when you go into tap rooms to find Underberg.
Yep.
Underberg is it's a German digestif, comes in little paper wrapped bottles. They have a genius marketing where they would if you save the caps, you can earn Underberg branded gear. And this is why I was thinking of this, is if you just had like a brown bottle up there, you can talk about the myth. As part of some of their rewards were a full set of dinner service, like plates and pasta bowls. And so each one would have a little like delicately painted herb or spice or something that was part of the ingredients of Underberg into it. But in addition to that, there is just a plain white plate with a thin green border around it. And I was like, that's the baller move to have. Like, if you spend your caps to get this plate, and you can just mount it on the wall, and it'll just be a regular white dinner plate hanging there, and people are going to be like, why do you have that there? And you get to pull it down and turn it over and show that there's Unterberg like printed on the back of it. I was like, that's
so
a baller
awesome.
move.
So that.
If you go into Full Throttle Bottles in Georgetown in Seattle, he's got a white plate hanging on the back wall.
That's fucking awesome.
Like, that's so dope.
That's
so
some good lore.
Yeah.
We're definitely going to have to make a trip up there and see that.
We'll just have a brown bottle for you.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. I love that so much. Why did y'all end up selling?
Life. Yeah. I had started this new job at Sierra Nevada. It felt difficult to navigate as a salesperson who is like cold calling on accounts, to be wearing different hats at different times.
Yeah.
And honestly, Chris and his wife just had a kid. Clay, my brother, just I think around that time had started really ramping up hours at the port. He's a longshoreman now.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it just seemed like the right time, and the writing was on the wall. I don't remember the exact timeline in terms of like COVID and all of this stuff, but we had no idea what the full implications would have been if we didn't even know about it at the time.
Yeah, like if you kept Northish and it happened into COVID.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was going to happen sooner or later. Luckily, at the time, we had made some friends who were opening up a brewery that was going to take everything turnkey.
Oh, nice.
And so I was worried that like trying to liquidate all of our equipment and everything is going to be a full-time job in and of itself, but we were able to just hand over the keys. And so,
nice.
yeah, that was really
almost
nice.
feels like natural progression.
Yeah.
It may have not been what you guys had foreseen, but with how things turned out,
right.
That's actually a really kind of like stress-free way to do it.
Yeah. And the brewery is still around. They're still making great beer.
What's the brewery called now?
I don't know if I'm allowed to say.
Okay, no worries.
I don't think that like there was an NDA involved or anything like that.
Gotcha. No worries.
But yeah, they're still making beer. I'll tell you guys off air.
Yeah, it sounds good.
But yeah, it was a bittersweet.
Gotcha.
Like we kind of did what we enjoyed doing. We had fun doing it. We won a couple medals at the Washington Beer Fest.
That's amazing.
Which was, it felt so good. We got to participate in Brew 5-3 as Northish, and like the only booth that had longer lines than us was Colt Mead.
Oh, damn.
So it felt really good. Cool. It was very fun. Yeah. So I don't regret a single minute of it. It was a lot of fun, but we all had other stuff to do, and unfortunately, running your own brewery isn't always a money-making proposition.
No.
It's for the passion.
Yeah, it is for the passion.
Absolutely.
I think most breweries are for the passion.
Yeah.
Most of them.
Well, I think this is a nice way because we're at an hour 30. We want to ask the last two questions and wrap it up.
Unless there was anything else you wanted to chat about.
No, I mean, like,
we could keep on chatting.
I mean, we can keep chatting.
Yeah.
I know, but, we can't have, like, 2.5 hour long podcasts.
Yeah. Getting into, like, deep state conspiracy theories. Like, oh, nice.
We'll keep chatting.
Yeah, birds aren't real.
So, no, I really appreciate you guys having me here, and it's lovely getting a chance to talk to you guys one-on-one.
No, we appreciate you.
Your story,
I think
too.
a lot of Tacoma appreciates you, but also the community, Again, like, I'll give my little gushing point. Like, the reason I got into craft beer was the people at Pint D and like RJ. And I've told the story so many times.
Yeah,
my time showing up, we actually popped in here. We had been drinking in Gig Harbor, and I wasn't into craft beer at this point. I think I had gone to Winco and probably bought every 6-pack of what I thought was craft beer, which was like Scuttlebutt and Diamond Knot and things like that. We went from here up the hill, and we were drinking, and I loudly proclaimed this Green Flash Session IPA. I was like, this tastes like buttered popcorn, and you and Barry whipped your heads around and were like, what? I was like, yeah, dude, try this. And you were like, you smelt it, and you both just like shuffled the keg off. But I was so stoked because I was like, and that was my first thought of like, how did this happen? And then that's when I started, I started showing up all the time.
Yeah.
And that was where I'll never forget Holy Mountain was just starting out, and I had become, I think, somewhat of a regular. But you're like, dude, you got to try this. And it was their White Lodge, and I was holy shit!
And that is so good.
It was just this forever evolution of like these people, this space, this place. It really did. It felt like a second home, and it was super cool to be a part of that.
Well, we were happy to have you there,
thank
man.
you.
It's it was like I said, a very special time and place, and it's like I still walk around town and see people that I met all those years ago, and it just like. Firmly, I feel firmly entrenched in the community. So now I can't leave.
Yeah.
Now I'm stuck.
Well, and I think it's just a cool, like, I guess they say butterfly effect now. Is that I think those are what the kids are saying. But it really is, because I think about, had y'all not been so, like, wanting to teach and wanting to educate and, like, help people learn about craft beer, you probably wouldn't have gotten into craft beer.
Oh, no.
And then, like, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
So
it's cool to see all those connections, you know? Like, I wouldn't be working for Sierra Nevada Brewing Company if I didn't take this print shop class
so weird.
In university.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, it's very strange.
The many, like, side quests that lead you to
where
you are now.
Yeah, sure.
Exactly.
We're so lucky to have you. All right.
We have 2 questions for you.
Shoot.
I always forget what we do first.
No, yeah. So if you had a piece of advice to give your younger self, and it doesn't have to be like beer related, what would that piece of advice be?
Ooh, interesting. I would say never stop practicing the things that bring you joy. And never stop learning about those things. You know, I was a voracious reader and writer. I mean, I majored in English, and, you know, writing was a thing, and I kind of fell out of practice with it. And I really miss that aspect of me that gets super stoked on just random facts or interesting ideas or just running with something, you know. I feel like I've lost the momentum. So that would be what I would tell my younger self, is like, just keep going on those things that like ignite some passion in you.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great one. Yeah. And last question, what are you looking forward to for the rest of 2025?
Ooh, interesting. I got a ton of shows. I get to go see my first live concert at Dune Park, which, if people are not Tacomans, Dune Park is named after Frank Herbert, man who wrote Dune, and they're having a concert series out there. Some of the best views in the city.
Wow.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I'm going to Vegas in the end of the month. I've got a friend who lives out there, and we're making a point to stay away from the Strip. And just find all the weird, kitschy, local dive bar stuff there.
Oh, rad.
Which I'm super stoked
for.
Yeah. Yeah, and then if I can plug my current work.
Absolutely.
There will be a new draft-only year-round Sierra Nevada beer that I get to help launch in the state.
That's exciting.
So
you'll have to keep us in the know.
You'll make sure you guys will definitely get some real live paper invites.
We're
excited.
So,
fuck yes.
Just stay tuned to the Tacoma social media stuff.
Yes,
it's going to be fun.
Yeah, very exciting.
Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks again, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, cheers.